Hello, this is Elizabeth Mower, president of BEI.
And I'm John Brown, the founder of BEI.
Each episode, we take you into the world of exit planning, sharing the stories, struggles, and opportunities of business owners and their advisors. We'll get into this episode's conversation right after this.
Gain the insight and knowledge that thousands of business owners and their advisors have used to plan for the future. The BEI membership equips you with the proven process that enables owners to exit their business on their terms. Receive access to case studies, podcasts like the one you're listening to now, a resource toolkit, and so much more. Cement your position as the trusted advisor to your most successful clients. Get started today by visiting exitplanning.com/membership. That's exitplanning.com/membership.
And with me today is Devin Langan, who's one of the owners of Legacy Business Advisors in Pennsylvania. Welcome, Devin.
Thank you for having me, John. My background is I'm certified in project management professional PMP, and then I have my green belt in Lean Six Sigma.
Okay.
And so those two disciplines really focus on understanding what your client's needs are, what their value is. And so we don't go in the approach with, this is your biggest asset, which majority of clients it is. Are you able to retire? We go in the approach of what are your concerns right now and how can we address them before trying to focus on the issues that are inevitable.
So that's why you begin with understanding their wants and needs and the resources they've got now to achieve that. And then you're going to use that information to focus on what they need to do next, basically.
Yes. So
like like most advisors, most exit planners, regardless of their profession, if you take that approach, usually you're going to go to continuity planning because the exit planning implementation is going to take probably years.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. So you got to take care of the killer, maybe no pun intended, of what would happen if the owner dies too soon. What happens to his business? What happens to the family? What happens to the employees? So is that what you got? Is that what you talk about your fire project?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we kind of what Steve talked about in the one discussion earlier today in his keynote speech is, if your house is being attacked, or you don't really focus on your new project that you're trying to renovate the bathroom, or are you going to take care of the initial threat that's happening right now? So we look at how can we give the business owner peace of mind and fix their biggest liabilities now, so that way they can breathe and then focus on down the road what it's going to be.
So the down the road might be growing value, motivating the management team, coming up with a strategy to gift or sell the business to the kids or the management team. Do you then go back and do the rest of that exit planning?
So we use an Agile approach with what are your key concerns, the highlights that you want to hit, and then let's just focus on one at a time, because within our relationship with the client, their needs are going to change. From 6 months from now, it's going to be a lot different. And then, 5 years down the road, it's going to be different. So if we try and plan everything out ahead of time, what we're going to search or what we're going to research, what we're going to do, implement, it's going to be changing so much down the road that we just kind of wasted a little bit of time.
Okay. So give me an example of how you might take that approach. Let's say the business needs to grow in value, because that's something clearly with Six Sigma you're going to focus on anyway, right?
So when we're looking at value growth, we kind of do an assessment of what are you currently doing now. A lot of clients, they say, well, the issue we're not growing is because our competition is getting too intense in our area. And they're just so used to doing the same processes over and over, they don't realize that they have quite a bit of bottlenecks that they need to look at and do a process mapping to see what they can cut out. So many times that clients think they're delivering value to their own customers, they haven't asked the question, what does my client really want? What does my customer really want?
Right. Will you go in and do that, or you train the management and the owner to do that?
So we go in and we do an assessment with them, but unless we can get buy-in with the their management team, it's not going to work.
That tells you they have a problem right away, though, doesn't it? The management team is
Yes.
resistant. Yeah.
I mean, it's going through the business. There's so many different phases that if you're not willing to change as the times change, you're going to become complacent and die.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, some other just general exit plan questions, but there's one question that I do want to ask you. So, we do a lot of podcasts like this with our members. You're one of the youngest members that we've done a podcast for. So, and your dad's still very active in the business. He's
Yes.
an old guy, but he's very young in an awful lot of ways, as you know. How do you approach exit planning, given the fact that you might be doing this for another 30 or 40 years?
So it's interesting. I have the perspective on being on the recipient end, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, in family business, there's about 10 of us. Not all family. I mean, my brother's in it, my mother's in it.
Really?
So, and then there's a bunch of other people that they're practically family because they've been
Right.
with us for 15, 20 or more years.
Well, you know, I have to say, we just did a podcast with another BEI member who represents family businesses. And he said the same thing. He said, you know, in a lot of really well-run businesses, the owner views all of the employees as family. So,
I mean, the clients that I love working with, or the business owners who they're not showing up every day because it's a paycheck and they make millions of dollars. They're showing up because they're passionate about it, and you can really see their passion come through when you work with their employees, ones that are, you know, doing everything they can to make sure that the business is running smoothly, that they're treating it as if it's their own. And I mean, we had a client who his one of his key employees had to have a heart transplant, new heart, everything.
wow.
He held his person's job open for a year until he was able to come back on his feet. And it's people like that I love working with, and knowing that, you know, I get to help make sure their legacy continues, and that culture is going to continue.
Yeah.
And the community will remain steady.
Do you have, so when you're dealing with an owner who's 65 years old, does it make a difference that you're, half his age?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the elephant in the room, right? You know, why should I listen to someone that's half my age? And I mean, it's a very good question. If you're not asking that, you know, either you've known us for a very long time, we've earned your trust, or there might be something off. But
Yeah.
I mean,
How do you deal with that?
I just tell them about my experience.
Yeah.
And I have referrals that they can talk to, and I address it. I mean,
Absolutely.
I try and be as transparent as I can with clients and ask them to do the same, because if we can't communicate our concerns and our issues, how will we ever move past them?
Right. Yeah, I do think that a lot of owners, they're going to have that question in their mind, but I think they're going to be open to listening to you, because they also have, I think, a lot of, at least they think that younger people are more savvy in a lot of ways than the old people. And, whether it's technology or whatever it is, Six Sigma. I mean, how long that most business owners don't have any idea what that is.
No, it's surprising. But the more I get involved with it, 6 months, the more eye-opening I am that it's not just, most people think of it just manufacturing.
Yeah.
But there's so many different applications to it that
Right.
can impact everyone in a beneficial way, especially in the service industry.
Yeah. I mean, so for an older owner, that's a new idea. That's a new concept that you're bringing to them that adds value. And it adds value because your generation knows more about that than their generation. So, I mean, I think and clearly you know what you're talking about. And you've got the support of your company.
Well, and it's great that I can also tell people that, there's a body that overlooks my training, that I have to prove to them every single year, that I meet their criteria, that I understand at least the basics, right?
Yeah.
And so having that CXP from BI really helps.
Excellent. What else do you want to talk about?
Well, I think probably the biggest issue that we have with clients and business owners that I think every business owner should do, whether it's with, somebody from BEI or another advisor is, whenever you do a plan, whether it's strategic plan, continuity, contingency plan, you need to practice it. That's the biggest, most frustrating aspect that I have is you go through the planning process and then everyone feels good, right?
They pay you money.
Yep.
And you could walk away, but
that never gets done. It gets put in a drawer, everyone forgets about it.
Yeah.
And so when we work with people, we say, if you don't want to practice it, you don't want to implement it, then you're wasting your money. And if we are going to waste your money, we don't want to be part of it.
So how do you stay on top of the whole process to make sure that stuff gets done? Because it could also be that you've brought in another advisor who's not getting the work done.
Mm-hmm. So we're very upfront with everyone and how we do things. And we send out an agenda at least a week in advance with all the documents that we're going to cover and say, here's what we're going to be talking about. Here's what we want to get out of this. Are you on board? And typically everyone says, yes, we're.
Oh, yeah, no problem, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this makes sense. But as we start going through the process, working with advisors, the client begins to see that not everyone's pulling their weight. And we'll have to have the uncomfortable conversation saying, in the beginning, we all set up the expectations. We all agree to it. If you're not able to hold your part, you can't be a part of this moving forward.
Well, and part of our planning process is that those other advisors, as well as you, have timelines, deadlines.
Yes.
So there's a kind of a mark in the sand. If they miss it, especially consistently, they have to realize that they're not going to be an advisor anymore.
Exactly. And nobody wants to be the weakest link.
Yeah.
Especially when all these advisors, they want the client to look to them for their expertise and go to them for help. So having that added pressure really helps it move along.
Yeah, and I hadn't thought about this before, but in the way we do the plans, all of the advisors know all of the deadlines.
Yes.
So if somebody is consistently missing it, it's going to hurt that advisor many times over because all of the other advisors are going to be a little more reluctant to work with that person.
And there'll never be a referral that comes from it.
Yeah. I like that pressure. We didn't design it that way, but it's a good result, I think.
It's a good way, especially when I feel in this environment, everybody wants to be part of a team and wants to help out.
Right. How many exit plans are you, Devin, involved in every year?
This year I've been working with 10 different business owners.
That's a lot.
It's not all exit plans.
Yeah.
I mean, we do a lot of strategic work, business coaching. Our biggest area is the contingency plan, the fire drill, where people we have 6 different scenarios. Everyone wants to know what happens with the business owner, passes away, becomes disabled. But then we also do it for key employees. We do it for natural disasters. I mean, we had a local business, which was a print shop. A dryer exploded, caused a fire. And so there's always different areas that we talk to people about. And they're like, what do I do if another 08 occurs? How is my business prepared for that?
Right. And that's all part of this exit planning.
Everything's combined. And so, we're going to exit. Hopefully we're planned.
Hopefully not by explosion.
Right. Yes, if we can plan for it, it makes it a lot easier for our families and for our employees.
Absolutely. So again, just to maybe be redundant, but after you've done that planning, you already know what they want to accomplish and what they've got. You then go back and examine other aspects of the exit plan, typically?
So when we do the assessment, majority of the issues we find actually can be resolved ahead of time.
Yeah.
The biggest issue that we found with one client was the owner had executive signature for everything. So if he passes away, guess who's not getting paid?
Yeah.
And it's little things like that can create a lot of problems down the road, but can be easily fixed. So we go through the process, we identify all those issues, we figure out what we can fix ahead of time, and then ones that we can't fix ahead of time, we develop an early warning system, which are little red flags that occur throughout, the timeline, that says, hey, you're heading for disaster, and then we have the recovery plan for that lets them get back on track.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And then as we go through that, we make sure that their key employees are taken care of, and that if they're going to sell it, their family is financially secured, or if we need to grow it, how do we do that? And so then we start going through the priority list that he or she has.
Right. Great. Well, everything Devin said is brings us to the final line, which is, this is why we plan. That's why we plan. Thanks a lot, Devin.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Join us for our next episode. For more content like this, please visit exitplanning.com.